Even though he has avoided talking about it for decades, 80-year-old Tom Selleck has finally spoken up. His honest feelings on James Garner. Fans have long wondered if there was more to the camaraderie between these two Hollywood heavy hitters than the surface-level platitudes they've spoken. For how long did Selleck keep his distance from Garner? What was he trying to conceal? After all this time, why does he decide to talk now? Fans and industry insiders alike will be taken aback by his announcement, which has sparked intense debate and speculation. The exciting career of Tom Selleck. The life and work of Tom Selleck is an inspiration for his tenacity, commitment, and progressive advancement. An adventure that has enchanted people for almost 7 decades and is still going strong. Thomas William Selleck was born in Detroit, Michigan on January 29, 1945, during the last months of World War II. He came from a working-class family and had a humble childhood in Michigan, which helped him develop the discipline and humility that would be important traits in his professional life. His family eventually moved to Sherman Oaks, California in 1962, when he was a teenager, in search of better possibilities. The relocation to the West Coast was a watershed moment for Selleck, bringing him closer to the action in the entertainment sector. Despite this, he was unsure about how to proceed with acting at that moment. When he was younger, Selleck cared more about sports than the glitter of Hollywood. He was so gifted athletically and competitively that he was able to attend USC in 1967 on a basketball scholarship. He decided to major in business administration at USC since it looked like a good, solid choice. However, plans for an alternative line of work were already in the works. Opportunities started to present themselves in surprising ways. Even though his original aim had nothing to do with becoming an actor, he initially planned to pursue a career in business, but after receiving encouragement from teachers and classmates, he decided to pursue acting instead. A spectacular career in film and television was launched with this change in direction. On the other hand, Selleck did not achieve instant fame. He was a member of the California Army National Guard during the Vietnam War, serving from 1967 to 1968. He may not have seen battle firsthand, but the discipline and responsibility he learned in the military informed his outlook on life and his career. Selleck juggled his burgeoning interest in acting with his devotion to his nation, while many of his contemporaries were paving the way to Hollywood or other professions. Not only was he dedicated throughout this time, but he was also able to juggle numerous tasks with grace. Selleck started dabbling with Hollywood when his military ended. Throughout the 60s and 70s, he was in a number of advertisements and had little parts on television. These were subtle but detectable cameos on TV shows, such as The Rockford Files, and advertisements for corporations like Pepsi. While his appearances did not garner widespread fame just yet, they served as opportunities to refine his acting chops and gain experience on camera. Instead of overnight stardom, it was a period of steady ascent. Selleck was cast in roles that hardly hinted at his future stardom for a long time. Opportunities in movies came knocking after Selleck's triumph on television. His versatility was on full display in the 1980s, when he became a household name thanks to his roles in a number of films. Among these, his 1987 smash tune 3 Men and a Baby showcased his charm and comedic timing. The film's success prompted its 1990 sequel, 3 Men and a Little Lady, which further demonstrated his popularity with mainstream viewers. These endeavors cemented Selleck's status as an accomplished figure beyond her broadcast career. He was now a member of the exclusive club of A-list actors in Hollywood. Selleck showed that he was not satisfied to be typecast by continuing to explore. With varied parts during the 1990s, he got to try out action and adventure in a whole other context in 1990's Quigley Down Under, where he played the character of an Australian sniper. In 1992's Mr. Baseball, he took his comedic talents to a global audience as a baseball player from the United States, adjusting to life in Japan. Selleck also had a famous role around this time on the hit comedy Friends, as Monica Geller's older love interest, Dr. Richard Burke. His performances on the show brought him new followers and showed him to an audience that was younger than him, demonstrating that his popularity was timeless and genre-neutral. Selleck turned to television movies in the 2000s, playing the part of a disturbed small-town police chief named Jesse Stone, another high point of his lengthy career. The Jesse Stone film series demonstrated his talent for embodying multifaceted characters. These critically acclaimed films showcased Selleck's dedication to subjects that gave him the space to delve into narrative with greater contemplation. These roles helped establish him as an actor capable of conveying nuance and gravity. Despite their relative diminutive size, in comparison to his earlier television work. As New York City Police Commissioner Frank Reagan in the CBS crime drama Blue Bloods, Selleck has already carved out another iconic role by 2010. Starting in 2010 and still going strong today, the show has become a classic on network TV. In his role as the patriarch of a police family, Selleck embodies the dual qualities of a strong leader and a caring family man, a reflection of the themes of responsibility, fairness, and love. He has demonstrated his enduring power in the entertainment industry by remaining in the public spotlight for an extended period of time in this role, even into his senior years. For over a decade, Blue Bloods has been the rock upon which his career has rested, adding yet another triumph to his television resume. Tom's divorce, conflict, and controversies. Success has been abundant throughout Tom Selleck's illustrious and lengthy career, but he has also had his fair share of problems and scandals, as have many famous people who spend decades in the limelight. These events have influenced how the public views him and ignited discussions that extended beyond his acting career, even if they have never entirely defined him. By delving into various parts of his life, we can see that Selleck's path was difficult, involving not only professional successes, but also emotional struggles, public scrutiny, and the pressures of being a public figure with strong beliefs. When Selleck decided to become an NRA spokesperson in 1997, he became embroiled in one of the most contentious arguments in American history. He had always been forthright about his love of hunting and guns, and his membership in the NRA was a reflection of his values and principles. His role was heavily criticized, particularly following high-profile mass shootings, and the move occurred while gun violence was becoming a more prominent topic in the national dialogue. His affiliation with the group gave the impression that he was staunchly on the side of a divisive subject in the eyes of many. In 1999, during a notable interview with Rosie O'Donnell, the incident gained more attention. The debate turned heated and awkward when O'Donnell asked him directly about gun violence and his affiliations with the National Rifle Association. It showed how challenging it was for the Hollywood star to publicly endorse gun rights in that politically volatile environment. This incident, which put Selleck in the political limelight against his wishes, has been replayed numerous times in the media and is still often cited. In the same year, another private part of Selleck's life became public knowledge: his split from Jacqueline Ray, an actress. Their 1971-1982 marriage was the subject of much media attention, and the interest in Selleck's private life continued into the late 1990s, even though the couple had separated years before. Their split did not constitute a major scandal by Hollywood standards, but it garnered a lot of attention in the 1980s, when Selleck was immensely popular, thanks to Magnum P.I. The public's interest in the private lives of famous people was on full display when tabloids and entertainment media concentrated on the dissolution of his first marriage. While Selleck was known for keeping his personal life out of the spotlight, this incident highlighted how challenging it is to do so when one is the subject of continual media scrutiny. In the 80s and 90s, Selleck's professional decisions were hotly contested, along with his private life. His 1981 pass on playing Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark is arguably the most infamous example. Even though he was heavily considered for the part, he turned it down because of his dedication to Magnum P.I. This wasn't quite a scandal, but it did have Hollywood and fans abuzz for years over what could have been. While some thought Selleck would have injected new life into the classic part that Harrison Ford created, others saw his pass on the chance as a watershed moment in his career. As an example of how one's professional trajectory may be radically altered by chance, the tale of Selleck's near transformation into Indiana Jones remains one of the most talked about casting decisions in Hollywood. When environmental issues came to the forefront in 2015, Selleck was once again the subject of heated public discussion. Due to the widespread sensitivity of the topic, California was experiencing a severe drought. Accusations that Selleck was taking water for his ranch from a public hydrant surfaced around this time. After being sued by the Cluest Municipal Water District, he eventually settled the case by agreeing to pay back $21,685 for the costs of the investigation. Even though he refuted any misconduct in the settlement, the issue ignited a broad debate regarding the role of celebrities and their privilege in a time of crisis that impacted the lives of millions of regular citizens. Critics saw the claim as proof that celebrities could seem emotionally distant from the plight of regular people. Although there were many who believed that Selleck had handled the situation in a responsible manner, the incident demonstrated that even well-respected individuals like Selleck could face public criticism when questions of justice and responsibility were at stake. In addition to these particular scandals, Selleck's political opinions have at times garnered notice over his career. Despite his conservative and libertarian leanings, he has characterized himself as politically independent. Hollywood is generally associated with more progressive values, yet his strong stances on privacy and gun rights put him at conflict with the industry's conventional beliefs at times. Although Selleck has never aspired to hold a position of political power, he has at times been the object of criticism due to his forthrightness on his opinions. The New York Times and Vanity Fair were among the publications that pointed out how his opinions differed from those of his entertainment industry colleagues. Rather than seeking controversy, Selleck's political positions mirrored his personal convictions. However, they further solidified his reputation as someone who was not afraid to defy Hollywood norms. The difficult path to stardom that James Garner took. By the way, James Scott Bumner, better known as James Garner, came into this world on April 7, 1928, in the Oklahoma city of Norman. Although he had a difficult childhood, he emerged from it with the honesty and resiliency that would serve him well throughout his life and work. Tragically, Garner's mother passed away while he was a little boy, and this tragedy colored his formative years. Even worse, he was subjected to years of abuse by his stepmother, a subject he would later discuss openly in interviews. In the face of adversity, Garner grew into a man who could persevere through the trials he would encounter as a soldier and an actor in Hollywood. Garner opted to drop out of high school and serve in the Merchant Marine for a short time in 1945. During the midst of the aftermath of World War II, this brief transition into adulthood taught him responsibility and discipline outside of the classroom, but it was brief and sharp. After that, in 1946, he enlisted in the United States Army and was assigned to the 5th Regimental Combat Team. Among his military duties was combat in the Korean War, an ordeal in which he displayed remarkable fortitude and bravery. Despite suffering 2 wounds in battle, Garner was decorated with 2 Purple Hearts for his valiant efforts. He bears the physical marks of his ordeals as well as the wisdom and insight gained from them. His perspective on life was changed by the war. It gave him a foundation and humility that he would take into his job afterward. The 1957 television western Maverick, in which he played the role of Brett Maverick, was his big break. Garner became a household name because to the series, which ran until 1960, Brett Maverick relied just as much on intelligence as on brawn, and he was funny, laid back, and intelligent. Quite the contrast to the stiff cowboys and gunslingers of the day. Fans were given something new and relatable by Garner's performance, which reimagined the cowboy stereotype. His charisma, sense of humor, and genuine acting skills were the key ingredients that made the role a smashing hit. Garner was an innovator in the transformation of Western heroes on television and a star in her own right, thanks to Maverick. Garner went from being a popular TV star to a bankable movie star in the 1960s, thanks to his successful crossover from television to movies. Standing among an ensemble cast in one of the defining war films of the decade, The Great Escape, 1963, is one of his most memorable roles. After that, he proved his flexibility by venturing into the fast-paced world of motor racing in Grand Prix 1966 and balancing comedic and serious subjects in the Americanization of Emily 1964. Garner demonstrated throughout this decade that he was capable of much more than simply being a TV star. He could hold his own as a leading guy on the silver screen. When the 1970s rolled around, Garner was back on TV, and he had another iconic part. The Rockford Files, on which he portrayed private investigator Jim Rockford, ran from 1974 to 1980. Among the most watched television shows of the 2000s, the show rose to prominence in no time. Contrary to popular belief, Garner's role was incredibly soft-spoken and innocent. Jim Rockford, on the other hand, was charming, reserved, and, despite his best efforts, seemed to perpetually land himself in hot water. In 1977, he won an Emmy for the role, solidifying his status as one of the longest-running actors on television. Once again, Garner had crafted a character that struck a chord with audiences thanks to his charming, vulnerable, and hilarious performance. From 1985 to 1989, Garner participated in Brett Maverick and other television productions, while paying homage to the role that had catapulted him to fame. Even while these projects didn't achieve the same level of success as Maverick or The Rockford Files, they showcased Garner's readiness to return to his roots and his continued appeal to viewers who remembered him from his legendary past parts. Garner was a major draw for audiences even when her films failed to become box office smashes. Garner proved his versatility and endurance in the entertainment business throughout the aughts and into the new millennium. He paid homage to his prior work while presenting his persona to a new generation in the 1994 film Maverick, which featured Mel Gibson and Jodie Foster. The film skillfully blended the old and the new, reiterating his evergreen charisma. He went on to star in Space Cowboys of 2000, alongside Clint Eastwood, Donald Sutherland, and Tommy Lee Jones. He continued to broaden his audience and career in 2001, with his voice acting role in Disney's animated feature Atlantis, The Lost Empire. Garner's remarkable longevity in a profession characterized by transient stardom was on full display in his ability to maintain relevance across decades and genres. For his role in 2004's The Notebook, Garner received some of the highest accolades of his career. He won the hearts of viewers everywhere as the elder Noah Calhoun, adding nuance, compassion, and depth to the romantic story. His portrayal was moving and sincere, demonstrating his extraordinary talent for striking an emotional chord with audiences. Garner proved that his skill was timeless, even as he neared the conclusion of his career, by landing roles that would touch generations to come. The Garner Files, Garner's memoir published in 2011, was a reflection on his remarkable life and career. His conflicts with Hollywood executives, family thoughts, and frank recollections of his early troubles were all part of the book's unvarnished look at his triumphs and failures. This autobiography was far but a Hollywood star-studded story. Rather, it depicted a guy who refused to let adversity define him. By opening up about his struggles, Garner gave readers a glimpse of the real man behind the characters they'd adored for decades, making the book just as interesting as his performances. Most contentious issues with Garner. James Garner was known as one of the most approachable leading men in Hollywood, and his life and career were full with iconic roles and critical praise. However, Garner's trajectory in the entertainment industry was molded by major challenges and scandals. Despite his charming and laid-back film demeanor, rather than being stemming from scandal, his challenges stemmed from ideals, health problems, and confrontations that showcased his resiliency and unwavering commitment to justice. These instances demonstrate the actor's resilience in the face of hardship and provide insight into the man behind the role. As a star of the popular TV series Maverick, Garner was embroiled in controversy in 1960, which would go on to define his career. He had become famous thanks to the Western, but things got heated when a writer's strike briefly halted production. The show's production company, Warner Brothers, suspended Garner on the grounds that he had broken his contract. The studio's refusal to pay Garner during the strike, in Garner's opinion, constituted the true breach. Garner was adamant about standing up for himself, so he sued Warner Brothers. The lawsuit was a watershed moment in Hollywood labor law when he prevailed in 1961. Studio disregard for contractual duties was further reinforced by the decision, which set a precedent for actors' rights during strikes. Although Garner gained confidence and became a peer hero as a result of this legal triumph, he harbored resentment toward major studios and gained the reputation of being unafraid to confront influential executives. Garner had other brushes with Hollywood heavyweights besides the Maverick dispute. He also brought claim and tension to his later work on the detective series The Rockford Files, which became another of his defining roles. For the sake of realism, Garner insisted on performing a lot of his own stunts. The exhaustion from all the action scenes, automobile chases, and fight scenes finally got to him. For years, he battled chronic pain from a variety of sources, including serious injuries to his back and knees. Because of these ailments, he had to cut back on his work and go to the doctor often during the better part of his career. However, he had other struggles related to the show besides his health. Disputes about profit sharing led Garner to sue Universal Studios, the production firm responsible for the Rockford Files. He thought the studio had wrongfully withheld payment from him. The dispute was resolved after a protracted court struggle. The fact that he had to fight for both his health and his financial stability showed how much he sacrificed for his profession and how firmly he believed in doing business fairly. The battles that Garner fought for did not always take place in courtrooms or against powerful corporations. His relationships with other performers inspired some of these ideas. His overt distaste for collaborating with Charles Bronson stands out as one prime example. In his memoir, The Garner Files, Garner depicted Bronson as spiteful and confrontational, making it evident that the two battled on set. While this feud was not a scandal in the classic sense, it revealed Garner's candor and refusal to sugarcoat his experiences in Hollywood. Unlike many actors who avoided criticizing colleagues in public, Garner was frank in voicing his ideas. His remarks regarding Bronson demonstrated that even a widely adored actor like Garner had to deal with private issues involving his personal and professional life. Beyond specific disagreements, Garner was not afraid to criticize Hollywood as a whole. Throughout his career, he spoke out against studio and producer exploitation. He said that artists, writers, and performers were often disadvantaged by the profit participation structures. He made his displeasure with what he saw as the industry's inherent greed and deception crystal obvious. In the Garner files, many people who admired his honesty and integrity thought highly of him after hearing these critiques. On the other hand, they further cemented his image as someone who was not hesitant to cause trouble. It was pleasant to see Garner so forthright, according to several in Hollywood. However, for those who felt otherwise, he became a divisive figure who dared to question authority during an era when the majority of celebrities preferred to remain silent. On James Garner, Tom Selleck has spoken out. At the age of 80, Tom Selleck spoke frankly about James Garner, the guy who had a profound impact on his life and career in Hollywood. Over the years, Selleck kept his feelings about Garner to himself, preferring to subtly retain the wisdom he gained from the great actor. On the other hand, Selleck started to express his respect and appreciation for the guy he saw as a friend and mentor in few interviews, especially as he became older. He spoke with an authenticity that betrayed a friendship based on principles of human decency and mutual respect, rather than on stardom or Hollywood glitz. Selleck frequently thanked James Garner, to whom he credited a great deal of his early success. Observing Garner's relaxed, authentic performance in Maverick, and subsequently The Rockford Files, greatly impacted his own acting approach, as he freely acknowledged. "Jim was a mentor to me," Selleck stated in an interview he gave to the Los Angeles Times in 2010. "He taught me how to relax in front of the camera, how to be myself, and not try to act too much." These words demonstrate not only Selleck's admiration for Garner, but also his dedication to studying his art by studying the teachings of his predecessors. Selleck's career was greatly impacted by Garner's work, especially when he played the role of Magnum P.I., which demanded the same combination of toughness, charisma, and wit that Garner had mastered in his earlier roles. Beyond their common ground in the arts, though, Selleck's respect for Garner had no bounds. He held Garner in high esteem since he was an honest and fair man in Hollywood. When Garner thought that studios were treating performers unfairly, he would not hesitate to speak out. Among the most consequential labor battles in Hollywood history occurred in the early 1960s, when he filed a historic lawsuit against Warner Brothers, accusing the studio of breach of contract amidst a writer's strike. Given the potential consequences for Garner's career, Selleck praised his bravery in taking such a stand. In retrospect, Garner reflected on the experience and stated, "I didn't want to be a rebel, but I wasn't going to let them push me around either." This statement is taken from the Garner files. Garner was clearly a man of principle and a gifted actor, according to Selleck, who saw this resolve in him. Their careers also intersected in significant ways. Their friendship blossomed in the 1980s, when Selleck and Garner appeared together on television. Not every famous actor is prepared to do what Garner did for a younger actor, but Selleck frequently praised her for being kind and encouraging. Selleck reflected on those days and told TV Guide, "Jim didn't see me as competition. He saw me as a colleague and he treated me like one. That kind of generosity leaves an impression on you." These comments showed how genuine and warm their relationship was, which were qualities that Selleck greatly appreciated. Garner acknowledged the youthful actor's brilliance and charisma, and had nothing but praise for Selleck. In interviews, Garner lauded Selleck for his work ethic and charisma, saying that they were similar to his own approach to acting. Their friendship blossomed from sincere mutual regard and continued until Garner's death in 2014. In a heartfelt interview with CBS Sunday Morning, Selleck reflected on his loss and said, "Jim was everything I wanted to be as an actor. He was funny without trying to be, serious when he needed to be, and he never compromised who he was. That's rare." These sincere remarks demonstrated the immense influence Garner had on Selleck, both professionally and intimately. Selleck thought Garner's modesty was admirable. Even though he was famous, Garner never put on an act. A man from Oklahoma who got lucky, he avoided the narcissism and conceit that come with stardom in Hollywood. In an interview with Parade magazine, Selleck reinforced this idea, saying that he admired Garner's humility and wanted to live up to it. Jim was unconvinced by the Hollywood hogwash. The fact that he remained rooted to the spot further highlighted his uniqueness, says Selleck. One of Garner's most lasting contributions, according to Selleck, was his honesty. Additionally, Garner's health issues greatly impacted Selleck. Garner had long-term injuries to his knees, shoulders, and back during filming The Rockford Files, because he insisted on doing a lot of the stunts himself. The strain was obvious to Selleck, who did a plethora of stunt work in Magnum PI as well. Jim's injuries were a reminder to all of us, Selleck said in an interview with Variety. He gave everything to his roles, sometimes more than he should have. That kind of dedication was inspiring, but it was also a warning. This acknowledgement showed not only Selleck's admiration for Garner's work ethic, but also his awareness of the personal sacrifices that came with such commitment. In addition to his influence on acting and professionalism, Garner's political outspokenness left a lasting impression on Selleck. Garner was known for being an unapologetic Democrat who supported civil rights, opposed the Vietnam War, and openly criticized political figures when he felt it was necessary. While Hollywood is often divided along political lines, Garner never hesitated to voice his beliefs, even when they drew criticism. Selleck, though more private about his politics, admired Garner's courage to speak his mind. As he told the New York Times, Jim believed in doing the right thing even when it wasn't popular. That's part of what made him who he was. It was this moral courage combined with his talent and humility that cemented Garner as one of the most respected figures in the industry. Their friendship was built not only on admiration, but also on shared values. Both men valued privacy, preferring to keep their personal lives away from the tabloids. Both valued loyalty, treating the people around them with fairness and respect. And both valued longevity, building careers that lasted decades without losing touch with who they were at their core. In many ways, Selleck saw in Garner the blueprint for the kind of actor and the kind of man he wanted to be. When Garner passed away in 2014, Selleck felt the loss deeply. Speaking with CBS News, he recalled, "We lost one of the greats. A man who seldom showed this much emotion spoke from the depths of his heart." Garner was more than just a co-worker to Selleck. He was an inspiration, a mentor, and a friend. These sincere remarks captured a lifetime of respect and appreciation. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and press the bell icon. Thanks for watching.